Hey, how's it going, guys? Hold on one second while I get my seatbelt on. Got to be safe, right? All right. Now today, so many noises. AC wide open because it's been hot. Radar detector on. Cops, you know how it is. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Something really quick that I was just sitting around thinking about. I had to make a run to the store to pick up a few things, so I figured I'd make the video. And you have to excuse the lighting as I know it's getting dark. I apologize for that. But here's what the video is about. The 2018 Dodge SRT Demon, or Challenger Demon. Now what is it going to be about? It's not what you think it's going to be about. You know, by now everybody's read the press releases. They know the horsepower ratings. They know the foot-pounds of torque. They know how fast it'll run in a quarter mile. That's not what this video is about. It's about something a little different. I already had people start showing up on the internet talking about the car's slow. I mean, come on, guys, give it a break. You know the car's not going to match the speeds that they have because they rented the track for today. It was in cool weather, and the track was fully prepped and everything, so you know it's not going to run the numbers that they run, so give that a rest. So much bashing and hating on the internet, it's crazy. You guys get one little tidbit of information and go to crazy with it. But what this video is about is the whining that's going on. More importantly, people really not taking into account what this car really is, okay? Now let me give you a little bit of back history for those that don't know. Back in '69, you had the ZL1 Camaro come out. In '70, '71, you had the Hemi Challenger come out. You also had the drag race only cars from Dodge and whatnot. Now, if you look at those cars today, the value of those cars, they are astronomical. I mean, they are expensive, very, very expensive. And what does that have to do with what we're talking about today? Let me back in this spot real quick. I think people are jumping the gun about their opinions on the Demon. There are only going to be so many of them. They're going to be very limited quantities, just like the '69 ZL1, just like the Copo Camaros, stuff like that. People, I believe, in my opinion, are misinterpreting this whole thing. Yeah, only the filthy rich are going to be able to afford it. You know, people with a lot of money, big YouTubers that make a lot of money, have income from all their subscribers and whatnot. And that's all fine and dandy. But we need to, myself included, need to start looking at this a little different. Everybody's gotten so caught up in performance. This is just like the 60s all over again. And thank you, God and the powers that be, that has brought this around during my lifetime, because I had just been born. I was born in '66 for those that don't know. So I was too young for the '68s, the '69 Camaros, you know, the '67 Camaro. I was too young for the Hemi Challengers and stuff, because my parents were not into that type of stuff. They were into the daily drivers, you know, get me back and forth to work is all I need. So they were like into the LTDs, the Plymouth Furies, stuff like that. And that's all fine and dandy. You know, they did what they had to do. I got no complaints. But thank God the 60s in relative terms is back. I mean, come on, look. You got the new ZL1 1LEs. You've got the ZL1s. You've got the Hellcats. You've got the Challengers themselves, which are beautiful cars. You've got the Camaros. You've got the Mustangs, the GT350s, the GT500s. I mean, it's a great time to be, number one, in America. And number two, to be able to live and afford some of these cars during this time in our lives, you know. And it's just, I think people are misinterpreting, misreading what this really is. Sure, the car is expensive, but like I said, number one, they're not going to make many of them. Number two, the performance packs on these things are just crazy good. You know, even if you yourself can only get a 10-second pass out of it, so what, 10 seconds? Back in '71, '72, a 426 Hemi Challenger, right? 426, at that time the biggest engine you could buy. was only capable of 14.3 second quarter miles. I mean, I can take my Z28, which is a 1993, and beat that by almost just a little over 2 seconds. I really can. And that thing, the Challenger has so much more bottom end torque and all that. And my Camaro weighs, without me in it, 3,267 pounds, I think it was, when I had it weighed. So, you know, relatively speaking, apples to apples, performance today is a lot greater. We could take small blocks to do what big blocks could only dream of. Now, with that said, now we have the Hellcats and the Demons. Dodge has done what they did back in the 60s. They let Ford with their Mustangs and Chevy with their Camaros come out, fight each other back and forth. You know, Pontiac got into the mix a little later on. You had the GTO, of course, you know, that started the whole deal with Ferrari. But, you know, with all that said, Dodge, Chrysler set out to do something the other ones couldn't do. And that was to beat them unequivocally, but I can't never say that word. Beat them out just heads and feet above anything else. They didn't just come out with a car that would match their speeds or be equal to them. They came out with a car that would totally dominate them. And that's when the 426s came out, you know, the Max Wedges and whatnot. And Ford and Chevy just could not answer it. Yeah, they had cars that could corner, and that's all great and dandy. But back in those days, unless you was part of the Auto Association Racing League, you really had nothing but street racing and drag racing. So sure, the Camaros and the Mustangs were fast and they could corner, but they were nowhere near as fast as the Challengers and Chargers and stuff like that of the day. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it, you know. I think people are just misreading this whole thing. If you're going to buy the car because it's the fastest thing around, then you're wasting your money. There's always going to be something faster. And with that said, if I could afford one, I'd get it. I would drive it once a month to a car show or something. That baby would be pampered. And if I'm still around 15, 20 years from now, I'd be sitting on a gold mine. But that's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. And I hope you all have a great day and you take care out there.